4 tattoos, 4 truths carved into real flesh. Look at them now. Tiger burning orange and black on a shoulder. Geometric symbol precise and perfect between shoulder blades. The word breathe inked across a collarbone. Abstract lines slashing wildly down an arm. You can't unsee them. Something in you responds before your brain catches up. That pull, the one making your chest tighten right now, isn't random. It's recognition. So pick one. Don't analyze it to death. Go with instinct. Which design makes you lean in, makes you wonder, makes you feel something you can't quite name yet? Hold that choice. Because what you just picked reveals a truth about your soul you might not have words for, but your body already knows. There's no right answer here, no trick, no judgment. The tattoo calling to you isn't about aesthetics or trends. It's a mirror reflecting the parts of yourself you don't always speak out loud. For thousands of years, humans have marked their skin with symbols, animals, words, patterns, not for beauty alone, but to tell stories the conscious mind might forget but the body remembers. When one design pulls you in harder than the others, you're responding to something ancient, something deeper than preference. It's a whisper from the part of you that says, "This is me. This is what I carry. This is what I need the world to see." So trust it. The tiger, the symbol, the word, or the chaos, whatever you chose, it chose you back. Here's what most people don't realize. Your choice isn't isolated. 93% of people who pick a specific tattoo share a core psychological pattern, a way they relate to fear, control, love, or freedom. Not 2 out of 3, not half, 93%. That's not coincidence. That's the way archetypes work. The inherited blueprints of human experience that show up in every culture's myths, dreams, and yes, body art. When you see a tiger and feel your pulse quicken, you're not just seeing an animal, you're seeing the warrior, the part of you that learned to fight to survive. When you see that geometric symbol and feel calm wash over you, you're seeing the builder, the one who makes order out of chaos because chaos once broke you. The word breathe, that's the healer inside, the one trying to come back to life after holding their breath through hell. And those abstract lines? That's the creator, the rebel who refuses to be reduced, categorized, or controlled. Each tattoo is a doorway into a different room of your inner world. The one you picked first tells me which room you spend the most time in, or which room you're locked out of and desperately trying to enter. But here's the kicker. You don't just have one room, you have all 4. The tiger, the symbol, the word, the abstract. They're not separate identities. They're chapters in the same story. And that story is you. What you're about to discover is which chapter you're living right now, which wound you're still protecting, and which part of yourself is screaming for attention even when you're not listening. Make your choice now. Lock it in. Don't second guess. Because in the next few minutes, you'll see why that specific image grabbed you and what hidden pattern it's pointing to. Something your eyes already noticed, but your conscious mind skipped right over. If this format resonates, if you feel something shift, support it with a like and subscription, because what comes next pulls tighter, cuts deeper, and might just change the way you see yourself. But don't wait. The tiger is staring at you now, and it's time to find out what it knows. The tiger. Let's talk about why this one lands so hard for so many people. It's not about strength. Not really. It's about survival. If you felt drawn to that tiger tattoo, here's the uncomfortable truth. At some point in your life, Being soft meant getting hurt, and getting hurt again became unacceptable. So you made a choice. You grew claws. You bared teeth. You became the thing that can't be wounded, because being vulnerable almost destroyed you once, and you swore, never again. Hollywood sells the tiger as some mythic warrior, king of the jungle, apex predator. But in real life, the tiger shows up on people who learn to turn pain into armor. Maybe your first heartbreak taught you that crying makes you weak. Maybe your last betrayal proved that trust is a weapon people use against you. Maybe you grew up in a home where love came with conditions, where anger sat in the next room ticking like a bomb you couldn't defuse, and the only way to survive was to become scarier than the threat. I'll tell you a story. I met a woman once, 32 years old, sharp eyes, neat lines, with a tiger's face inked over her shoulder blade. She got it 3 days after her divorce. "It reminds me I can survive," she told me, voice steady, jaw tight. And I believed her more than she believed herself. I've sat with 20-something guys, arms covered in stripes, telling me the same story in different words. Childhoods where you learned to read the room before you entered it, where you scanned for danger before you relaxed, where softness got punished and strength got rewarded, or at least strength kept you alive. Picking the tiger means you know this truth in your bones. Aggression can be safer than tears. At some point, you got tired of apologizing for being too much or too intense or too sensitive. You stopped explaining yourself and started defending yourself. And defending became the default, the reflex, the habit you can't shake even when the danger's gone. Here's what people never talk about. Being a tiger feels powerful, but it gets lonely. You want connection, but your stripes keep people at arm's length. You mastered scaring off pain, but you scared off closeness too. The tiger is your wall. It protects the part of you that trusted once and paid for it. The child who opened up and got crushed. The teenager who loved and got betrayed. The adult who believed and got blindsided. That wall works. It keeps you safe. But it also keeps you isolated, because walls don't discriminate. They keep out the danger and the love, the threat and the tenderness, the pain and the possibility. Here's your practice for the next 72 hours. Find one moment, just one, where you let someone see you without the stripes. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Maybe you admit you're tired instead of saying you're fine. Maybe you ask for help instead of proving you don't need it. Maybe you hold eye contact an awkward second longer. Let a silence sit instead of filling it with armor. Notice what happens in your body when you do this. Does your chest tighten? Does your jaw clench? That's the tiger resisting. It thinks softness is suicide. It believes vulnerability is a death sentence. Whisper to it gently. I survived by becoming you, but I'm safe enough now to try something else. Your anchor phrase, the one you'll carry forward, is this. I can be soft and still survive. Say it when the armor feels too heavy. Write it somewhere you'll see it. Let it become the whisper that loosens the grip. You are not weak for wanting tenderness. You are not foolish for craving connection. You became the tiger to survive. But surviving isn't the same as living, and it's time to remember the difference. Now turn your attention to the next tattoo, that geometric symbol carved into someone's back, perfect and precise. If that one called to you, there's a pattern here you need to see, and it might hit closer than you expect. Symbols are the code we use when feelings grow too big for language. If you saw that geometric design, sharp, balanced, elegant, carved between someone's shoulder blades and felt something pull tight in your chest. Your mind didn't pick it by accident. Here's the raw truth nobody wants to say out loud. People who choose geometric tattoos have faced chaos so constant, so crushing, that order became their lifeline. Not a preference, not a style choice, a survival mechanism. Think back. Was there a moment you desperately wanted to make sense of the mess around you? Some people grow up in homes where the volume is always too loud, where secrets pile up like unsorted mail, where dramas spin out without warning or explanation. Others learn young that unpredictability is dangerous, that when things fall apart, people get hurt. And when you can't fix the world, when you're too small or too powerless to stop the chaos, you do the only thing you can. You fix your space. You color code your calendars. You make lists for your lists. You need symmetry because disorder feels like drowning, and symmetry is the only raft keeping you afloat. Let me tell you a story. I met a guy once, only 20 years old, sharp jaw, quiet eyes, who came in for a tattoo shaped like an endless knot, layered and intricate and perfect. Later, over coffee, he told me about his childhood, parents who fought, plans that always broke at the last second, schools that shut down without warning. He moved 6 times before he turned 12. If my room was perfect, he said, voice soft and certain, my mind felt safe, like maybe I could control something, even if it was just where my books went on the shelf. That knot on his back isn't decoration. It's his anchor. It's proof that somewhere order exists, even if only on his skin. The geometric symbol isn't about beauty, not at its core. It's about control. Circles promise wholeness and eternity. Triangles offer balance and transformation. Squares ground you in stability and structure. Hexagons mirror nature's perfect harmony, the way honeycombs hold chaos in tiny, manageable cells. When you combine these shapes into a single tattoo, you're not just making art. You're creating a visual anchor, a promise to yourself that beneath the mess, there's a blueprint, there's meaning, there's a plan. And if you can see the plan on your skin, maybe you can believe it exists in your life. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. The symbol can become a cage. You spend so much energy maintaining order that spontaneity starts to feel dangerous. Someone suggests a last-minute road trip, and your first thought isn't excitement. It's panic, because it wasn't on the schedule. It doesn't fit the structure. It breaks the pattern you need to feel safe. A relationship gets messy. Emotions get unpredictable. And you either try to logic your way through feelings that don't respond to logic, or you shut down completely because feelings don't fit into neat categories and you don't know what to do with anything you can't organize. Here's what the geometric tattoo protects you from: the terror of losing control. Maybe you watched a parent spiral into addiction or mental illness, and you learned that unpredictability destroys everything it touches. Maybe you were punished for being too messy or too chaotic as a child, and you internalized the belief that only perfect order makes you acceptable, lovable, safe. Maybe the world felt so random and cruel that the only way to survive was to build walls of structure around yourself and never, ever let them crack. The geometric symbol is your promise. I will never let things fall apart like that again. I will hold the center. I will maintain the pattern. I will stay in control. But control is exhausting, and life, real life, messy life, beautiful life, doesn't fit into perfect shapes. Love is chaotic. Growth is chaotic. Healing is chaotic. And if you only allow the parts of existence that fit neatly into your pattern, you're living in a beautiful prison of your own design, and the walls are closing in even when you can't feel them yet. Your practice for the next 72 hours. Do one thing without planning it. Let one element of your day be unscripted, unpredictable, out of order. It doesn't have to be big. Eat breakfast at a different time. Take a different route home. Say yes to something spontaneous you'd normally refuse because it doesn't fit the structure. Notice the discomfort. Your body will scream that this is unsafe, that chaos is coming, that you're losing control. But stay with it. Breathe through it. The goal isn't to abandon structure. It's to prove to yourself that you can survive a little chaos without collapsing, that flexibility doesn't mean falling apart. Your anchor phrase, the one you'll carry forward from here. Order serves me. I do not serve order. Write it on your mirror. Repeat it when the need to control everything rises up and chokes the life out of the moment. You are not the structure you've built. You're the architect, and architects can redesign anytime they choose. You don't have to tear down the walls, just open a window. Let some air in. Let something unexpected happen, and see if you survive it. You will. Now turn your attention to the next tattoo. The word breathe inked across that collarbone. Simple, stark, urgent. If that one grabbed you, we need to talk about what you've been holding in your chest all this time and why you needed to write it on your body to remember. Breathe. One word. 6 letters. Carved into skin above the heart. If this is your choice, you know what it's like to forget how. Not in the biological sense because your lungs still work, but in the soul sense. You hold your breath through entire conversations, entire days, entire relationships, bracing for the next blow that might or might not come. You've spent so long preparing for disaster that you forgot what it feels like to exhale into safety. People who choose word tattoos, especially command words like breathe, strength, freedom, begin, are people who need a verbal anchor in the storm. Words have power, real, ancient, undeniable power. In old traditions, knowing something's true name gave you control over it. When you write a word on your body, you're making a contract with yourself. This is who I will become. This is what I will remember when I forget. It's not decoration. It's a lifeline. But let's go deeper. Why breathe? Why not love or warrior or fearless? Because breathing is the one thing you can't fake. The one function that connects body and mind so intimately that when you're terrified, it's the first thing to go shallow. Anxiety lives in the chest. Panic tightens the ribs. Trauma freezes the diaphragm. When you can't breathe deeply, you can't think clearly. You can't feel fully. You can't connect authentically. Shallow breathing is how the body stays in survival mode, scanning for threats, ready to run or fight or freeze, never settling, never safe. If you picked this tattoo, you've survived something that taught you the world isn't safe enough to exhale into. Maybe it was a home where every silence felt like the calm before violence. It's you telling your nervous system, I refuse to spend my life in lockdown mode. I refuse to hold my breath waiting for disaster. I refuse to shrink. Every time you see it in the mirror, every time you glance down at your collarbone, it's a micro-intervention, a reminder that you're allowed to take up space, to fill your lungs, to exist without apology, to claim the air as yours. But here's the shadow side, the part people don't talk about. The tattoo becomes a confession of how often you forget. You needed to write it on your body because telling yourself wasn't enough. And sometimes, when you're spiraling, when the panic has you in its grip and your chest is a locked cage, even the tattoo feels like a lie. Breathe? How? When the fear is a vice and the air won't come and your ribs are too tight and your throat is too small? The word can become a taunt instead of a comfort, a reminder of how far you are from the calm it promises. Here's a story. I met a nurse once, early 30s, kind eyes, hands that never stopped moving, who wore "breathe" on her collarbone. She told me she'd gone years without noticing the way her body locked up under stress. Shallow breaths, tight shoulders, jaw clenched. She worked 12-hour shifts holding other people's pain, and she never gave herself permission to let go of any of it. Her tattoo was a promise. I won't forget to come up for air, no matter what happens. But promises are easy to make and hard to keep, especially when your body has been trained to survive by staying small. What you're protecting here isn't a single memory. It's a pattern. The held breath is a defense mechanism, a way your body learned to survive danger by becoming invisible. Children in unsafe homes learn this. Make yourself quiet, make yourself small, control every sound, every movement. Breathe shallowly so no one notices you're there. And that survival strategy worked once. It kept you alive. It kept you safe. But now it's killing you in slow motion because you're still holding your breath in rooms that are safe, still bracing for impact in relationships that won't hurt you, still waiting for permission to exist that no one's going to give you because you have to give it to yourself. Your practice for the next 72 hours. Set a timer on your phone for 3 random times each day. When it goes off, stop whatever you're doing and take 1 full breath. 4 counts in through the nose. Hold for 4, 6 counts out through the mouth. Just 1. But do it consciously. Feel your ribs expand. Feel the oxygen reach the bottom of your lungs. Notice if your body fights you, if your mind says, "We don't have time for this." That resistance is the pattern. That's the survival mode trying to stay in control. Breathe through it anyway. Reclaim your breath, 1 moment at a time. Your anchor phrase, "My breath is my birthright." Say it out loud, not in your head, out loud, so your throat remembers it has permission to make sound. You are not too much. You are not taking up too much space. You are not asking for too much when you ask for air. The world tried to make you smaller, tried to teach you that your existence was conditional, that your breath was a privilege you had to earn. But every time you breathe deeply, you break that rule. Every exhale is an act of defiance. Every inhale is proof you survived. 1 tattoo left. Those abstract lines slashing across a shoulder, chaotic, asymmetrical, refusing to be categorized or explained. If that design spoke to you, you're about to recognize something about yourself you maybe haven't put into words yet, but your body already knows. Abstract tattoos break every rule. There's no animal to identify with, no word to decode, no geometric symbol promising order. Just lines, shapes, chaos pouring across skin in patterns that refuse to resolve into meaning anyone else can read. If you felt yourself responding to those jagged black strokes slashing across a shoulder, it's not random. It never is. The raw truth is this. Abstract tattoos are chosen by people who know life rarely adds up, and they've quit pretending otherwise. Why go abstract? Here's the secret nobody tells you. People use these tattoos to show what words can't express, to lay out the fragments of heartbreak, ambition, hope, and loss in a visual language only they can decode. They represent freedom, the kind that comes from refusing everyone's categories, rejecting every box, walking away from the labels society tried to glue onto you before you were old enough to fight back. You grew up watching others twist themselves into shapes that didn't fit, and you learned early, conformity is a cage. You tried once, maybe. You failed, or maybe you succeeded and it felt like dying inside. Either way, you got tired. Abstract ink became your personal revolution, your declaration of independence, your flag planted firmly in territory no one else has permission to define. Let me tell you about someone I met. A woman, late 20s, fire in her eyes and ink all down her forearm, jagged lines, asymmetrical shapes, no discernible pattern. She told me it didn't mean anything, then spent 15 minutes explaining exactly what it meant. Each line marked an invisible battle, her first panic attack at 19, the friend she lost to an accident that made no sense, the dream that fell apart and reformed into something she's still figuring out. She didn't want flowers or birds or anchors or any of the designs that come with prepackaged symbolism. She wanted proof that surviving meant making her own shapes, writing her own story, creating her own meaning in a world that kept trying to tell her who to be. Abstract tattoos aren't only about pain, though. They're also about power. When you wear shapes nobody else understands, you keep some part of yourself unreachable, safe from judgment, safe from misunderstanding, safe from the people who think they have you figured out after 5 minutes. These tattoos give you space to be yourself, even when you're still figuring out what that means. The lines stand for creativity and expression, for claiming your own story when language fails, for declaring that your journey isn't finished and won't fit anyone else's script. Many use abstract ink to celebrate healing, freedom, and growth, to say out loud, "I refuse to be reduced. I refuse to be explained. I refuse to be simple." Here's a twist most therapists won't tell you. Chaotic ink is often how people process trauma that's too deep for words. Traditional therapy asks you to talk about it, to name it, to make sense of it. But some things don't make sense. Some wounds don't fit into narratives with beginnings, middles, and ends. Some pain is just noise, and abstract tattoos are how you turn that noise into something you can look at, something you can own, something that exists outside your body so it doesn't have to live only inside anymore. It creates a new layer of identity, acts as emotional armor, and, like a secret handshake, signals struggle and triumph to those who know how to look. But isolation is the shadow here. When you refuse all structure, when you reject every template, when you make yourself indefinable, connection gets harder. Relationships require some shared language. Community requires some common ground. And if you're always the outsider, always the one who won't play by any rules, always the one insisting no one can understand you, eventually you end up alone. Not because no one wants you, but because you've made yourself impossible to reach. The abstract tattoo protects you from being misunderstood by keeping people at a distance where they can't try to understand you at all. What are you protecting? The part of you that's afraid, if you become too legible, too understandable, too clear, people will see you and decide you're not enough. Better to stay mysterious, stay undefined, stay one step ahead of judgment. If they can't figure you out, they can't reject the real you, because they never get to see it. It's safer that way. Lonelier, but safer. For the next 72 hours, own your chaos, but share a piece of it. If you have an abstract tattoo, or just dream of one, do something outside your routine that involves another person. Create something together. Let someone see your process, messy and unfinished. Say yes to collaboration even when you'd rather work alone. The goal isn't to explain yourself or justify your choices. It's to prove that you can be seen without being reduced, that connection doesn't require conformity, that someone can witness your chaos and still choose to stay. Write this down and make it your phrase. My story refuses to be reduced. Let that remind you that your complicated journey matters, that the mess is valid, that the parts of you that don't fit into neat boxes are the parts worth protecting. But they're also the parts worth sharing when you find someone brave enough to hold them without trying to fix them. Now take a breath and look again at all 4 tattoos. The tiger, the symbol, the word, the abstract lines. They're not separate paths. They're 4 rooms in the same house, 4 chapters in the same book, 4 faces of the same soul. The tiger is your instinct, your fight, your refusal to be wounded again. The symbol is your order, your structure, your need to make sense of chaos. The word is your breath, your anchor, your reminder that you're allowed to exist. The abstract is your freedom, your creativity, your rebellion against reduction. Maybe you recognized yourself in one, maybe in all 4. Either way, you know now that the tattoo you choose isn't about ink or art. It's about identity. It's about which story you're telling yourself, which armor you're wearing, which wound you're still protecting, which version of yourself you're trying to become. Integration is the work. Not picking one and rejecting the others, but learning when to be the tiger and when to soften, when to build structure and when to let it flex, when to remember your breath and when to let yourself create chaos. Want to put this to the test? Here's your final practice. 60 seconds, starting now. Close your eyes if you're somewhere safe. Picture each tattoo appearing on your own skin, one at a time. As each one appears, ask it, what do you need from me right now? Don't force an answer. Just listen. The tiger might say, rest. You don't have to fight today. The symbol might whisper, let go. The plan can change. The word might remind you, breathe. You're here. You're safe. The abstract might shout, create something. Stop waiting for permission. Whatever you hear, honor it. Do one small thing today that answers that need. Drop your first tattoo choice and a single feeling in the comments right now, before you scroll away, before you forget, before the moment passes. Not an explanation, not a story, just the tattoo and one word. Tiger, fierce. Symbol, safe. Word, struggling. Abstract, free. Whatever comes first, write it. Come back tomorrow morning and read what others said. You might see your own pattern reflected in someone else's words. You might realize you're not alone in what you carry. And that recognition, that moment of me too, might shift something you didn't know was ready to move. The story doesn't end here. What you write next changes the ending. Which tattoo did you choose? And what does it say about the mark on your soul?